You call it strength. You call it drive. You call it the reason you win when others give up. But deep down, you know it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like a cage you built and then convinced yourself was home. Before we start, like, comment, and subscribe to The Fictionist, where we pull apart the quiet psychological patterns that shape our lives. Let's talk about discipline, not as virtue, but as armor, the kind that keeps you sharp, but also keeps you lonely. You didn't wake up one day obsessed with control. You learned it the hard way. Maybe the house you grew up in was unpredictable. The mood changed without warning. 1 minute calm, the next a storm. Maybe love arrived only when you performed well, when your report card glowed or your room was spotless. You learned fast that being good, being perfect, being early, those were the ways to stay safe. Every time you controlled something small, you felt like the chaos outside got smaller too. A clean desk, a perfect score, a tightly made bed, tiny islands of predictability in a sea of uncertainty. It was survival, not ambition. Control became your way of making sure nothing hurt you by surprise again. That's how discipline became more than a habit. It became a belief system. You didn't just do things well, you had to. Because under every checklist, every routine, every calendar reminder is a quiet voice that says, if I slip, I'm not safe. The adult you lives by that rule without even noticing it. You call it your standard. You tell yourself it's who you are. But it's not identity. It's conditioning. You can see it in the way you start your day. You wake before dawn, hit the gym, eat the same breakfast, and go through the same sequence every morning. You say it's discipline, but it's really ritual, an anchor against uncertainty. The ritual isn't about fitness or productivity, it's about reassurance. It tells your body everything is under control. And that comfort is addictive. The more you do it, the safer you feel. The problem is when anything breaks that pattern, when you oversleep, miss a workout, or even forget your journal, it feels catastrophic. A normal lapse hits like failure. You don't just lose a morning, you lose your sense of self. The body remembers what the mind denies. The racing pulse when a task goes undone isn't motivation, it's anxiety. You can hear it in your thoughts. If I don't do it now, it'll spiral. If I relax, I'll lose everything I've built. That's not ambition talking. That's fear wearing ambition's clothes. Discipline doesn't just manage your day, it manages your panic. The real trick of this system is that it looks good from the outside. People call you dependable, focused, unstoppable. You collect praise for the same behaviors that exhaust you. At work, you hit every deadline. Your boss calls you the backbone of the team. You stay late, fix mistakes that aren't yours, plan 3 steps ahead. You tell yourself this is excellence. But look closer, you're not motivated by pride. You're motivated by the terror of not being enough. You don't rest because rest feels unsafe. You don't delegate because if someone else fails, you'll feel responsible anyway. You build the system tighter every time it wobbles. You make your life smaller so your control can feel bigger. In relationships, the same logic plays out. You attract people who admire your structure, your reliability, your calm. You call yourself the organized one. You think that means stability, but it also means you don't let people see you unravel. You keep emotions under tight supervision. You schedule conversations. You apologize before you're angry. You hide sadness under tasks. When your partner says, "You never let me in," you don't know what they mean. You think you're doing everything right. Planning, showing up, solving problems. But what they're feeling is distance. They can sense the wall you built, even if you don't call it one. You protect them from your chaos because you never learned that love can survive it. The irony is, your discipline often hides the very chaos you fear. Underneath the routines is a nervous system that doesn't trust the world. The structure keeps you from collapsing, but it also keeps you from expanding. You avoid spontaneity because it threatens your illusion of safety. You avoid uncertainty because it mirrors what you escaped. You avoid softness because softness means losing control. You say you like predictability, but what you really mean is you're terrified of vulnerability. There's a reason you can't turn off. Even on vacation, your brain runs schedules. You plan activities down to the hour, track steps, count pages read, check progress. You tell yourself you're being productive, but you're just maintaining your perimeter. Stillness feels like exposure. You fill every gap before the quiet gets too loud, because quiet is where the old noise comes back, the unpredictable house, the critical voice, the feeling that you were never enough unless you were exceptional. Your productivity is your silence breaker. If you keep moving, the ghosts can't catch up. It's easy to mistake this as strength because the results look like strength. You have a good career, a clean apartment, a fit body, a reputation for reliability. But the quality of your peace tells the truth. When you sit still, what happens? When you skip the gym, can you breathe? When someone cancels plans, does your chest tighten? Those are the cracks in the armor, the reminders that the discipline isn't about growth, it's about control. Control has a cost. Over time, the very systems that once protected you begin to shrink you. Routine becomes rigidity, standards become obsession. Every win starts feeling smaller because it takes more effort just to keep equilibrium. You begin to chase perfection not to improve, but to avoid collapse. And because perfection doesn't exist, you're trapped in a constant loop of almost safety. You can't rest because rest feels like a lie. It's not that discipline is bad, it's that yours was never built on choice, it was built on fear. You didn't develop it to master life, you developed it to survive it. And that distinction matters. Healthy discipline is flexible, it bends when life bends. Yours breaks, it doesn't adapt, it enforces. It doesn't trust, it commands. When something unexpected happens, you don't adjust. You punish yourself for not foreseeing it. Your mind calls it accountability, but your body knows it as self-punishment. Here's an example. You miss a morning run because of bad weather. A balanced mind says, "I'll run later." Yours says, "You're slipping." You double your workout tomorrow. You cut your meals in half to balance it. You turn a simple change into moral debt. The rules get stricter because the fear gets louder. The more you try to control, the more your life revolves around maintaining control. You mistake exhaustion for discipline, burnout for commitment. Even your language gives it away. You say, "I have to," not "I want to." "I can't miss this," not "I choose this." You've built a religion out of self-command, and breaking the ritual feels like sin. That's the trap. Your discipline isn't serving you anymore, you're serving it. The psychological core of this pattern is hypervigilance. It's your nervous system staying on high alert, scanning for disruption. You can't relax, because relaxation feels like letting your guard down. And if you grew up in chaos, you know what happens when you do that. The hit always came when you least expected it. So you expect it forever. You think of that expectation as being prepared, but it's really being haunted. You don't trust calm. You wait for the world to prove you right by breaking again. In analytical terms, this is an internalized control schema reinforced by intermittent safety. You found that effort could postpone pain, so you made effort your baseline. That conditioning runs deep. It's why you struggle to forgive yourself. Why you set standards so high no one can meet them, including you. Why you equate softness with weakness and relaxation with decay. The adult you is just the child still trying to stay safe. When you hear people talk about balance, it sounds naive. You think, they don't know what happens when you let go. And you're right, they don't. Because they didn't have to build a world from control. But that world has turned on you. It's become a psychological prison, polished, organized, admired, but a prison nonetheless. Inside it, you're always under supervision. Always one mistake away from self-blame. Always managing the fear that someone might see the chaos you hide under your perfect routines. You can't logic your way out of it. The same discipline that protects you won't save you. You can't plan your way to softness or schedule spontaneity. You'll have to do the opposite. Let small things be imperfect and stay. Miss a day. Say no to a plan. Sit with the noise. Watch nothing fall apart. Let the nervous system learn what your mind won't believe, that safety isn't in control, it's in capacity. The capacity to stay steady after something breaks. The capacity to trust that you can meet chaos without collapsing. That's the real strength you've been chasing all along, not the one built on fear of falling apart, but the one built on knowing you won't. This is The Fictionist. If this hits home, like, comment, and subscribe. In the next part, we'll go deeper into how this overdeveloped discipline sabotages relationships, creativity, and joy, and how loosening control might be the first real act of courage you've ever done. You keep watch over everything. You track the time, the steps, the macros, the emails, the tone of a room, the shift in a partner's voice. Your mind stands guard like a sentry who never gets to rotate out. Before we go further, like, comment, and subscribe to The Fictionist, where we take apart the patterns that run our lives. Now let's be plain. The cost of this guard post is your body, your sleep, and your ability to feel safe when nothing is going on. The control you prize depends on vigilance. Vigilance depends on fear. Fear keeps your system on high alert. High alert burns you down. Your day starts before the sun because that feels like an edge. You set the alarm earlier than you need, so nothing can take you by surprise. You hit your routine with tight focus because the first hour sets the tone. You tell yourself you choose this. In truth, you fear what shows up if you do not. If you skip a piece, the rest of the day feels unstable. You chase stability by adding more rules. Soon, the rules run the day. You follow them, but they do not follow you. The sense of control you get is real. It is short. The price is constant watchfulness. Vigilance does not stop at morning. You scan your inbox for threats. You clear small tasks to stop a future pile-up. You jump on messages fast so others never wait and never judge. You keep plans tight and backup plans tighter. You refuse to hand off anything that could break. You say you love excellence, but the driver is not joy in craft. It is fear of chaos. The fear makes you treat life like a leak that will flood the house if you stop patching it. That stance brings a hit of relief each time you patch. It never brings rest. Rest would ask you to trust that a leak can wait, that a mess can be small and still be safe. Your body does not trust that. It treats rest like risk. Sit on a couch with no device and your mind panics. It hands you things to do. Wipe the counter, check the door, rework a line in that report, text that person back, book the next week now. The list never ends, so you never hit stillness. The pattern protects you from uncertainty by deleting the spaces where it could show up. The cost is that you never learn what your system could do with space. You never learn that quiet can hold you. You can measure the toll in simple ways. Your sleep is light. You wake at night to check the clock. You feel a spike when you see a number you did not plan for. You push through fatigue with caffeine and grit. You do not ask what fatigue is trying to say. Your appetite follows rules, not hunger. You call this discipline. It is control of signals that carry data about your needs. You mute those signals because needs feel like threats to the plan. The plan must hold, or your worth shakes. That is the core belief at work. If I keep control, I am safe and good. If I loosen it, I am at risk and less. This belief shapes love. A partner says, "Let's take a slow day." You nod, and structure a slow day. You plan the route, the stops, the time to return. The day is fine. It is not slow. They ask for a nap in the middle, your chest tightens. You hear a voice that says, "We will fall behind." Behind what? There is no race, yet your nervous system runs one. You give them 20 minutes, you lie there and watch the clock. Your mind hums about laundry and the email you owe. You get up early from the nap and set a timer for chores. You do not feel rested. You feel in control again. You call that peace. It is relief from fear, which is not the same. Work shows a sharper edge. You build trust by never dropping a ball. Everyone learns they can lean on you. Praise lands. Praise also locks you in. You cannot ease off. If you do, your image shifts. You think, if I stop, they will see I am average. So you never stop. The load grows. Burnout arrives in slow layers. You hit deadlines and feel nothing. You win praise and feel nothing. Joy leaks out, but productivity stays up, so no one notices. You look like a peak performer. Inside, you feel like a person who never gets to sit down. The brain chemistry explains why this loop holds. Each time you prevent a surprise, you get a small drop of relief. Each time you check a box, you get a small spark of reward. Relief and reward pair with control. Your system learns the link. Control now equals calm now. It does not track the later cost. The later cost is baseline anxiety. The later cost is an exhausted nervous system that needs more control to feel the same calm. You raise the dose, you lengthen the routine. You cut the margin for error. The loop tightens. Spontaneity feels like the enemy because it bypasses the loop. A friend texts, "Come out now." You want to go. Your stomach says no. You fear what a late night will do to your morning. You picture a chain: late night, missed workout, slow brain, weak meeting, shame. You do not test the chain. You avoid the invite. You keep the system intact. You win today. You also shrink the range of your life. After a while, you stop getting the text. People assume you will say no. You tell yourself you like quiet. The quiet is not chosen. It is a side effect of control. The same fear shapes how you see other people's pace. You judge their comfort with rest. You call it soft. You call it undriven. Under the words sits envy and threat. Envy because part of you wants that ease. Threat because their ease challenges the code that keeps you safe. If they can be enough without the grind, what does that make your grind? Your mind rejects the question and tightens the story. The grind is who I am, then the grind runs you. Think about your nervous system as a guard dog that never got the signal to stand down. It barks at any unknown. Rest is unknown. Pleasure without a purpose is unknown. Free time is unknown. The dog needs a new script. But you do not give one. You reward the bark by adding locks. You silence the bark with tasks. You never walk the dog through a quiet park and let it notice that the world does not attack. So the dog never learns. The cost extends to illness and injury. You get sick and treat it like a test. You push through work. You keep the workout, or you replace it with active recovery that is not rest. You heal slower. You blame the body and not the pace. You turn a human limit into shame and a promise to tighten rules next time. You add supplements or hacks to keep going. You will try any fix except the one that lowers vigilance. Trust that you can stop and nothing breaks beyond repair. You also pay in creativity. New ideas come in loose states. They need drift. They need walks without targets. Your schedule does not allow drift. You block off ideation at 7 a.m. and stare at a page. Nothing comes because the same stance that beats deadlines chokes play. You conclude you are not creative. That is false. You are not spacious. The mind needs space. Space feels like danger to the body that learned chaos. So you pick the task that gives relief now, and the idea that needed idle time never lands. You pay in sex and touch. Control does not fade because the lights are off. You plan intimacy. You try to optimize it. You direct yourself like a project to miss the part where you are held and seen and messy. A partner senses your distance. They offer care. You do not know how to receive it without earning it first. You offer effort instead of presence. The moment becomes work. You wonder why it feels flat. The guard never left the door. Here is a scene that shows the whole chain. It is a Tuesday. You woke at 5, trained, ate clean, and hit the desk with a clear list. At noon, a client cancels a call. You could take a slow walk. You fill the hour with inbox 0. At 3, a coworker asks for help. You say yes because you can, and because you fear the label that comes with no. At 6, your partner asks if you want to sit on the stoop and watch the sky. You say later because dinner must fit the window. At 9, you are tired but wired. Sleep will not come. You open the laptop. You call this a productive day. It is a day where you ran past 3 chances to downshift, because downshift set off alarms. If someone asked for your core rule in one line, it would be this: worth comes from control. That rule infects every choice. It makes you side with tasks over ties. It makes you fill the hour instead of feel it. It makes you see a hand on your shoulder as a cue to move faster, not slower. It makes you measure and count and structure and plan until life looks like you wanted and feels like nothing. When you try to relax, you do it with force. You schedule a break and stack it with micro goals. You track your heart rate to confirm you are calm. You read about recovery. You do not drop. You do not float. You do not let the day be what it is. You try to earn the right to stop by proving you can do it well. That is not rest. That is performance in a different suit. The cost shows up in language. You say must, should, have to, cannot let, fall behind, keep up. These words build a world where you are a manager of a fragile system that fails if you ease up. But look at the facts. Many times you did ease up by force of events. A flight delay, a power cut, a flu. The world did not end. Your life held. Yet your body did not record those proofs as safe. It skipped them and stored the few times when easing up hurt. That is how threat-based learning works. It is sticky. You will need to build sticky safety on purpose, or the old map will run you. What would sticky safety look like in real scenes? Saying yes to a last-minute walk and letting dinner slip by 30 minutes. Sleeping an extra hour and moving the workout to the evening without doubling it tomorrow. Delegating a task and letting the result be 90% and good enough. Letting a friend be the planner on a trip and going along even if the schedule is loose. Leaving dishes in the sink overnight and learning that the morning holds up fine. These are not hacks, they are exposures. Each one teaches your body a line you do not yet believe. Nothing breaks if I let go a little. The psychology is simple. Vigilance kept you safe. Now it keeps you tired. You cannot think your way to trust. You must collect safe experiences of letting go. Your fear says this will end you. Fear lies. Your life is larger than the rules that kept you alive as a child. If you give it proof, your nervous system can stand down. If you refuse, it will not. It will ask for an earlier alarm and a tighter plan and a smaller world until there is nothing left to soften. You do not need to stop being strong. You need to add a second kind of strength. Not the kind that holds the line at all costs. The kind that can loosen the line and stay present. The kind that can move through a day that does not obey. The kind that can sit with a partner on a stoop and watch the sky change and not measure the time. The kind that can take a breath and not earn it. You will feel a pull to fix this like you fix everything else. Write a plan. Read 5 books. Track the steps. Do not let the plan become another guard. Let today have one small choice that breaks the loop. Then let the unease rise, peak, and fall. That curve is your nervous system learning, not you failing. Do that again tomorrow, not as a streak, as a practice of trust. If this lands for you, like, comment, and subscribe to The Fictionist. We will keep going at the pace that builds the only control that lasts, the capacity to meet life as it comes without turning yourself into a machine to survive it.